inside STS, and we're joined again by Matt Tanner. I didn't forget.
That's all right.
I swear.
Just remember your name.
Man, you guess that the other day Steve wanted me to know how old I was and my birthday at the same time. So,
I know.
Well, hey, we get asked the same question over and over and over again, and I got a couple people I want to ask the question to. So we're not gonna, you don't have to answer it for everybody, but we want to get your take on why a steel bike.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, how did you get a good-looking guy like Matt on the show?
I do want to point out that my mom thought that we did a great job and that I looked really good.
Yeah.
And then when me and your wife did a show, it was, you guys did a great job. She's wonderful. So you have not been noticed by Mom. I don't know if that matters, but
I think your mom and my mom are the two most views on YouTube for
just
these
keep
things.
going, replay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what would you tell people? What do you think?
So I mean, I think frame material is a big discussion, and obviously at STS making steel bikes, currently that's the material of choice, and we have a reason for that. I guess I would sort of back up and say, over the decades that I've been riding, I've ridden a lot of different materials. Starting out, my first road bike was aluminum.
Yeah.
My first real, like a real road bike. You still had the down tube shifters, but it was it was a race bike. It was a Cannondale. It was pretty sweet. It was a 1991 whatever. And I thought, this is the coolest bike ever, And I worked with another local bike company years ago, and they built titanium bikes. And I had a titanium road bike. I think I've sent you guys pictures. You may be able to throw that in the video. I don't know. Super, super cool bike, but it was a totally different feel. And I would say it was, stiffer than the aluminum was, and it was this particular one was crafted with aero tubes, which was like super cutting edge at the time.
Yeah.
It was like nobody was doing that.
No.
And then right about the time that I got that bike and started working with that company, carbon came out and became more affordable. And obviously the things they can do with carbon molds are infinite possibilities with shapes. You look at like Pinarello, and they've got these forks that look like they're all warped and crazy, and they do it for a reason. But
and carbon's good compared to,
I mean, they all have different ride qualities, and it's kind of what do you want to ride, and what are your goals for riding, and where are you going to ride. And my experience with carbon, a lot of it was, and I still ride carbon road bikes, but it was again, it was very stiff. It was super light. It was also super fragile. So, I've had about 7 or 8 carbon road bikes, and I think I've broken about 7 of them. So,
well, you got a couple of them at your house still that you're making art projects out.
Yeah, and carbon can be repaired, but nobody wants to break your bike frame. I mean, that's like the worst end of a race ever, and I've done it several times. So you're walking to the car carrying your bike in pieces, and but then I didn't have much experience riding steel till I met you guys. Had been on a few steel bikes to test ride and do some things when we were at the bike show in Las Vegas. We got to test ride a ton of bikes, and I rode some steel bikes a little bit then, but it was 5-10 minutes, and then try a different bike. And so, the interesting thing with riding steel, especially on a gravel surface, is it's still stiff, but it absorbs a lot of the vibration that you're going to feel. So when that happens, it's almost like you have a built-in suspension system a little bit.
Yeah.
And anybody that mountain bikes knows when you have suspension, your tire is going to stay in contact with the ground more, which means your power is going to transfer better. So for me, like the first thing I noticed going from, so as everybody knows, I haven't been gravel racing for decades. It's been a couple seasons now. So my first gravel bike was actually another metal alloy. It was made out of magnesium.
Yep.
And was a good bike. It was kind of an entry-level bike, but it was an okay bike. But the thing I really noticed with steel and the gravel scene, and I did a lot of mountain biking when I was in college, so I'm kind of familiar with this, you know, trying to keep the tire on the ground and bouncing around, and mountain biking your full suspension or front suspension to try to keep everything in contact with the ground. But with steel, you can feel it in the saddle while you pedal, that your power is transferring to the wheels and into the ground and pushing you forward.
Yep.
So for me, that's like the feel that is different. I've ridden some carbon gravel bikes, and I think you feel that chatter a lot, and the power doesn't transfer as well then, I think. And then I guess my final point with the gravel is, like I said earlier, I've broken like every road bike I've ever owned. Not that I crash a lot, but when I do, I go full out. You know?
do it in style.
Yeah, it's like it'll be a good crash if I crash. So I've crashed the gravel killer probably a dozen times in a season, because the gravel racing, I mean, stuff happens, you know. And
you haven't told us about a dozen crashes.
I mean, in the Rift, I crashed 3 times. There was a race in Bloomington, or
Brown County.
in Astoria that I don't know. I know I crashed twice in the biggest mud puddles in the whole course. 2 times.
There's like one nick on the bike, by the way.
Yeah, and then I crashed it up in Michigan in this coast to coast race that was like sand that was, you know, it was a Jeep trail, and your wheels you just go down, and they were like fallovers. They weren't hard crashes, but I never broke the frame. So that's the thing about steel. Like if you break a steel bike,
you've done something.
You've got other things broken too. But I would imagine, if that did happen, let's talk to Andy, and I bet it can be repaired. You know, it's
well, and that's the thing.
It's a great material for durability. So
they've always recommended steel for like cross country, when you want to ride across the country, because that's the thing they always say. If you would break that bike, stop at any farm that you would go near, and they could weld it right up for you.
Right.
The one thing that my experience with the steel. Coming from car, because I was not a different kind of rider than yourself. I was let's go out and ride the bike trail, stop at the bridge and look at the fish. So I went and I was like, I'm going to go ahead and get a carbon. This has been a few years ago, before we started the company, 5 years ago. Hopped on the carbon frame and went, I think this feels fast, and I hate it. I didn't get, we're the 3rd house on the block, and I didn't get to the end of the road, and I went, I hate this thing.
Yeah.
So that ride quality that we talk about, I'm used to it. I like it.
Right.
It's real. But the other thing that I always tell people, you ride on an STS gravel bike, you get on the road, this thing feels good. You hit the gravel, the bike comes alive.
Yeah.
So you're feeling that moving with you, staying connected.
Right.
And it just feels like it's a living being connected to you.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And in my experience, I've raced a lot of time trial events, and a time trial bike is a total another different beast. I've never done any track cycling, but in my mind, I can just totally imagine. I've ridden fixed gear bikes, but not on the velodrome. It's it's almost like a totally different sport. Gravel's the same way. When I'm on a road, on my road bike, I'm feeling like a Formula One driver. I am like tied to the tarmac, and it is all power, all speed, all cornering.
Yep. And it's a lot of fun to watch from the car, by the way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But when I get on a gravel bike, it is like we're doing, the Baja race where, the guys are jumping and the wheels are like this everywhere.
Yeah.
It's a totally different, it's a totally different sport. I mean, it really is. You're still on 2 wheels, you're still pedaling, but it is a different skill set. It's a different feel. It's different equipment. And if you want to race gravel, you're going to want that power transfer. And, keeping the bike connected to the ground is critical for power. So
Well, and it's just like when we talked about coaching, who would benefit from having a coach? Anybody that would learn from it. If you're a guy that just wants to go out and do an event, I mean, one of our ambassadors, Josh Cook, loves to do events. He's going to debut a bike this year at one of them that we're going to go to. It's a little bit, well, I should say a lot different. So I'm kind of curious to see how that goes. But Josh, he's out there, he competes with himself. But guys like that get it. Guys like me get it. Staying connected to the ground, having that good power transfer. Even if you're the person who goes, man, 100 miles, I don't know if I can do it. Which way you want to go?
Right.
Something that you stay connected, you get the full power. It's easier on your body, or just getting the crap beat out of you by the carbon fiber bike.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take the easy ride.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, and it's, I mean, it brings, made me think about just all of the things you can do on a gravel bike, whatever material the bike's made out of, but especially with steel, you don't have to be a racer to appreciate that feeling. I think what you were saying earlier about, touring or people that are crazy enough to do these 200-mile races where they may not be racing to try to podium or finish in a certain position. They just want to finish.
Yeah.
You're going to be out there for 12
Long
hours,
time.
14 hours, 16 hours, 18 hours.
Exactly.
You want to be on something that's comfortable. So steel definitely provides that in something, and it's something you have to have a bike. You have to have the frame, right? So it's, you're going to have a frame no matter what. It's not like we're adding on a suspension fork. We're not adding on, a super padded saddle or something that's goofy. It's like it's built into the bike itself. So.
Yep. Yeah, we think we do. And then when you talk about not breaking it, we had a couple of R&D bikes, frames sitting around, and the guy sitting behind the camera today, Brett, broke them, or shouldn't say, tried to, was standing on it, hanging on it, and they're sitting outside, and they're not broken. Yeah. Yeah. His weight bent a couple of but we tried to break it. The welds aren't going to go anywhere. The steel is strong.
Right.
So it's definitely a good option for people. And considering we get this question asked all the time, we got an answer for him.
That was
we got a lot of answers.
Was that an answer? That was kind of
a lot of answers.
Discussion, I think.
It was a little bit. We don't do the outdoor discussion anymore.
That's right. We're indoors.
We're answers all the time.
It's nice enough we could have been outside today.
No kid. January, and it's nice enough to go ride. Did you ride indoors today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Me too.
It's not that nice out.
Yeah, I've seen some of our ambassadors posting on Strava that they're outdoors. I'm like, hey, good for you, man.
A bunch of the guys I coach are still riding outside, and I'm like, you guys are.
Ryan went outside. He had that posted.
Yeah, Ryan was outside. Was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. It wasn't even as nice yesterday as it was today.
We got to get him in here and have him introduced as Thor, so we can.
Thor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like good nicknames. Since I'm jealous of the hair.
He's got the hair.
Yeah. Which we don't, but that's okay.
That's the only thing I'm jealous of on Ryan.
Has a little smack, right?
Come get it, Ryan.
Well, Matt, thanks for coming. Thanks for sharing your views and your expertise. And we'll see you guys next time on Inside STS. Explore confidently.